It shouldn't surprise any of us that Arkansas beat TCU on the road with power running, or at least it was a power run to close out the double overtime win. Austin Allen, not Raleigh Williams, but Austin Allen, the source of that power run that got the job done. The quarterback taking the sweep right and bulldozing his way into the end zone with the help of just about the rest of the offensive unit for the Hogs in a thrilling 41-38 win for Arkansas. And as Brett Bielema said after the game, representing the SEC in Big 12 territory over TCU. Okay, I got notes all over the place. So for three and a half quarters, I thought the game recap would involve talking about the Arkansas defense, because the defensive line for 3+ quarters was exquisite, dominated the game up front for the Hogs in building a 13-0 lead and dominating the TCU running game, and also just harassing Kenny Hill. Really, through 3+ quarters, the best TCU offense was Kenny Hill breaking contain and getting downfield. He had 3 or 4 really long runs where he made guys miss in the secondary, broke the line of scrimmage, just made plays out of nothing. And actually, it was 13-0 at one point late in the second quarter when Hill broke contain, made a couple great moves on the left side, and there was unfortunately a clipping penalty, block in the back, that called the play back, and it prohibited TCU from getting at least into field goal range, and the penalty was unnecessary. The block was unnecessary. Hill was past the defender. But that was the offense for TCU. And then about an hour later, it turns into a complete offensive bonanza on both sides. So, of course, it was Cavante Turpin on the TCU side exploding for play after play after play. I don't know why they kicked to this guy, especially when he returned the long 64-yarder that looked like it was going to win the game after TCU had come all the way back from down 13-0 and 20-7 to make it a 28-20 lead. And that was the capper in regulation for TCU, the 64-yarder on the kickoff return to Turpin when they decided to kick to him. But he had 7 catches for $126, 4 kickoff returns for $136, and the 2 punt returns for 33 yards for a total of just under 295 total yards for Cavante Turpin. Kyle Hicks made some big plays, and it really turned into the Hill-Hicks-Turpin show in a frantic comeback for TCU. I thought Arkansas had this game under control despite just having the 2-score lead, and we know what TCU can do on offense, first under Trevon Boykin last year, over the last couple years, and now Kenny Hill. But they really put it together in the second half. They ran some really exquisite plays in setting up the Arkansas defense. The one that comes to mind was getting either Hicks or Turpin out wide to the right. They had trips to the right. They faked a screen. Arkansas blew the coverage, and I believe it was Turpin that went all the way down the sideline for the touchdown, the long touchdown, or got it inside the 5-yard line at that point. So I'll roughly go through my notes here because I've got a number of things. I was impressed early on with the Arkansas defensive tackling in space, guys like Andre Tolliver, Ryan Pulley, Jeremiah Ledbetter, the senior who forced a fumble inside the 5-yard line that was key early on. Kenny Hill, again, didn't have a whole lot of time to throw the ball, and Arkansas put a couple drives together, led by Raleigh Williams, who finished with 26 carries, 28 attempts for $137 on the ground, and he was just magnificent and a tough running back, and a guy that is close to Brett Bielema's heart when it comes to what he provides in terms of productivity on the football field, running the football, but also coming back from that neck injury suffered against Auburn last year and running just as recklessly in a good way as ever before. So Arkansas led it at that point 13-0 thanks to Brooks Ellis, who had a remarkable game. I was jotting down his plays and what he did at a late point in the game. He had the pick six on Kenny Hill, who made ill-advised pass, but it was pressured. He was forced into it to a certain extent. He could have eaten the football or thrown it away, but he decided to throw it off his back foot. Brooks Ellis timed it. He broke on the football, returned it all the way for a pick six that made it 13-0. But Brooks Ellis, in addition to that, had 2 swing passes in which he dragged down the running back and made it all the way to the sideline to drag him down for a tackle for loss. And also on a jet sweep, he kept contained, kept leverage, and brought down the running back for a tackle for loss. So huge game out of Brooks Ellis. And again, the Arkansas defense was exceptional until late. And then Kenny Hill, who was not impressing me despite showing those 3 or 4 times that he broke contain and put on some big plays and really made some guys miss in the secondary and showed some tough running. He's a competitor, no question. Kenny Hill started to find his range because he was pretty inaccurate for 3+ quarters. 36 of 56 as he started to really feel it in regulation and overtime. 377 yards and a touchdown. He ran it 15 times for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. There were so many big plays in this game. Dan Skipper, when it appeared as though TCU was going to win the game because they had come all the way back from 13 down to take the 28-20 lead, and then Austin Allen led the drive all the way down the field to tie the game at 28. Issue there was that when Kenny Hill scored the touchdown to make it 28-20, he gave it the throat slash for the second time. They finally called it on this one. That provided the short field for the Arkansas offense of 58 yards. So Austin Allen on that drive, 4 for 4, 58 yards through the game-tying touchdown pass or the 2-point conversion, which is a whole other story. But he got it to within 2 with the touchdown pass to Keon Hatcher. Then Bielema called on Hatcher again on the double reverse 2-point conversion with about a minute left. And the lefty wobbling duck end over end 2-point completion to not Brandon Allen, of course, his brother Austin Allen in the corner of the end zone, who just barely got his foot in. And that was quite the play call from Brett Bielema to tie the score. But again, it was set up from Kenny Hill and the throat slash. But he regrouped. He brought the Horned Frogs right back down the field, but they missed the field goal because, as we started to tell you just a second ago, Big Dan Skipper, who doesn't normally play on special teams, but in critical situations, meaning last year against Toledo, the Rockets finally won that game, but they needed a field goal block, did the Razorbacks, and they got it from Dan Skipper. And once again, he came through. The big 6'10 left tackle, got the big arm up and blocked the Ryan Graff field goal. The freshman was thwarted at the gun, or TCU would have won this game 31-28. We went to overtime. The offenses were in gear. Nobody was stopping anyone for the first few drives. Allen hit Sprinkle for a touchdown. And also in overtime, Kenny Hill to Taj Williams, who finally showed up with just the one catch for the touchdown in overtime for 13 yards. That was it for Taj Williams on this night. TCU held to the field goal, so Arkansas broke through, got the big stop that they needed. Then Arkansas gets the ball back. Reed on the jet sweep for 15 down to the 10-yard line. And then we got to see, once the Hogs got it down to the 5-yard line, Austin Allen with the power running as he got pushed into the end zone and fought his way for the huge victory for this Arkansas program. Really the biggest win that they've had out of conference, excluding bowl play over Texas and Kansas State the last 2 years, for quite some time, in defeating a ranked opponent outside the SEC for the first time in quite some time. I believe the first time under Brett Bielema, off the top of my head. This was an exceptional game, fun to watch. Again, the defense was great for most of the time. Then the offense has just exploded on both sides of the ball. And Austin Allen did not put up anything close to the numbers that Kenny Hill did. But in the clutch, he came through and really threaded the needle on a number of occasions, on hitting 17 of 29 for 223, no INTs for Austin Allen, and 3 touchdown passes. Arkansas, TCU, Hogs win at 41-38 in overtime. They've got a bit of a break against Texas State next week before they dive into SEC play against Texas A&M. For TCU, it's right to Big 12 play and a date with Iowa State in Dallas-Fort Worth. Need to hear from you. Let's talk it up. TCU, Arkansas, what's ahead for these two clubs right here on Mark Rogers TV?